Evangelion Vatos! Happy Easter. Hope you guys are having a beautiful and amazing day. And surprisingly, wow, there's a lot of news to get into. Who would have thought? As of course, we're going to provide you the latest and most important news, some in meme form, on how essentially, you can't trust anyone but yourself. The usual reporting that we do here on an independent media organization that is getting screwed over by all the powers that be. Yeah, us. But hey, at least we still have t-shirts. So, if you have your survival supplies, a big bag of rice and beans and storable food, and maybe even starting in a garden, and hey, you got some extra funds to go around, check out our t-shirt store. We just got new t-shirts like this with nothing but the facts, like this one, reminding everyone that Bill Gates is not a medical doctor. Or our very appropriately timed hats that, are asking everyone to please make Orwell fiction again. And if you don't know who Orwell is, we can't help you. Please just go to the next YouTube video. I'm serious. Just leave. Just go to the trending page of YouTube. Find the worst corporate propaganda filled with product placement, social engineering, distraction from reality, psychological warfare video that you could find, and just click on that bad boy and just forget about us, please. So yeah, we definitely have a very interesting, fast-moving, and still kind of crazy situation on our hands that a lot of people don't know how to deal with, but there are some important caveats that do need to be understood right now, and one of the biggest ones is that a lot of the projections, even with social distancing implemented in them, have been very wrong. Now, is this because of new medication, individual actions? Well, again, we don't know, but the good news that we're getting is that as of right now, the number of people impacted by this is a lot lower than expected. To the point where a lot of the medical professional and nurses are literally making TikTok dancing videos right now, pretending to revive themselves. And nurses have a very difficult job, a very tiresome job, a very thankless job a lot of the times. But these videos, yeah, watching some of these kind of cringy videos doesn't really help anyone. Doesn't really reassure anyone. And I don't know, maybe it's me, but I don't think this is right. Also, of course, you're hearing a lot in the headlines that the United States is most hit by this sickness, but we also have to understand the United States has a way bigger population than all those other countries that it surpasses, and when you adjust the final numbers per population, per million, the numbers of course are not as severe as other places around the world. And we're even coming to a point where one of the leading epidemiologists that was predicting that this sickness would take over Europe is now calling for the government to end the lockdown, saying that the economic damage can be more severe than this actual sickness. Well, are we in the clear? Can we go back to life like it was before? Is everything going to be okay from here? Well, you're going to have to check out the video I did a couple days ago titled, "Is This Almost Over?" to get the full answer for that, because there's a lot of other implications that are worth considering, and there can't be just a clear answer of yes and no from here. But I think one thing that is clear is that a lot of the government action throughout this entire situation definitely didn't help. And they are still actively making the situation worse, of course, exploiting this crisis in order to grab more power over you. And what's happening right now is absolutely ridiculous, as of course measures are being implemented that actually absolutely have no effect on the current crisis, but are still used and implemented to punish the people of this country, as if government is just trying to see what they could get away with. Now, it's important to note here that this has been mainly done on a state-by-state level, and that federally, Donald Trump and the executive office have had a back-off kind of approach during this entire situation, and that a lot of these draconian measures have been implemented by local state government. Now, again, I'm saying this as an individual who's also been telling you to take this situation seriously and to be respectful of other people's space. I'll tell you why at the end of this video specifically about that. But seeing situations like in Kentucky where police officers shut down, issue fines, and even threaten arrest for people attending church services in their car. Again, if you're in your car, the chances of you spreading this sickness is extremely low to non-existent. from all the data that I've seen. But yet still, officers still decided to do whatever they thought was right, not lawful, and commit this egregious action that has been happening all throughout the country. People in nature who are out there by themselves, respecting the supposed social distancing, are having officers who are likely exposed to this with no protective gear come up to them in very close contact, put handcuffs on them, put them in the back of a car, and sometimes in some cases even throw them in jail cells filled with other individuals. Again, being in nature with your family, away from everyone else, social distancing, and having law enforcement violate social distancing is just the epitome of idiocracy. And of course, it gets worse from here, as of course many of these idiots implement laws that they themselves are not following as they sign the law for that specific quote law, including this photo coming from a local news station with government officials $1,000 fine for ignoring social distancing, from not staying away at least 6 feet away from each other as they're all huddled together signing this specific law. Now again, should we take this seriously? Should we respect the space of others, especially the elderly or the immune compromised, and respect them by being courteous, by being aware of the situation and giving them space? Yes. Is this the way to do it? No. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it's only going to get more ridiculous from here, as of course, whatever rights the government takes away from you, you could bet your bottom dollar they will not be giving back anytime soon. And just like CIA, NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden says, as emergencies laws proliferate, we sacrifice our rights. And we should be skeptical of that, as well as other individuals and institutions that are here, quote, to help you. Including also, of course, the World Health Organization, which now YouTube mandates and promotes here under every video surrounding this particular topic to spread their falsehoods and propaganda that have been incorrect, that made this situation worse. Again, the same World Health Organization that told you there was no human-to-human transmission, that tells you still to this day not to wear masks, that told you that travel bans were, quote, racist. Yeah, that World Health Organization run by a communist government bureaucrat that covered up previous pandemics in his country while being accused of human rights violations. And yeah, this is also the same organization determining what channels get censored or demonetized on the platform. And again, somehow we're told to have faith in this organization. And the Japanese Prime Minister, by the way, just recently called the World Health Organization, called it the China Health Organization, as of course there's been a lot of scrutiny with China's handling of this entire situation, which there should be. And honestly, there should be scrutiny all around, whether the Chinese government or the US government, the warnings that they had, the information that they had, the secrecy that of course made this worse, the disinformation and lies, a lot of it to cover up their incompetency, as of course many politicians sold off their stock, deserves to be called out. But again, as I was talking about before, one of the reasons to take this seriously, this entire situation that we're in, is because there's still a lot of unknowns and a big possibility that what we're dealing with here is a bioweapon. You factor that in, as well as the fact that many people are getting this sickness again after having it before. There's also the news today that we're getting that the United States government actually financed this level 4 biolab in Wuhan to the tune of $3.7 million from a grant. And this is, of course, what many people looking at the data think this entire sickness came from. And again, I made entire videos about this, but in short, the whole story about patient 0 doesn't add up, specifically since he didn't have access to the wet market, wasn't there, wasn't eating bat soup. Again, they had to change that story from China, that patient 0 was now allegedly another person. When we look at the strain of this sickness, it comes from the horseshoe bat, which wasn't sold or consumed at this wet market. We were sold this story about the wet market very early on, which again, I would highly question, since of course it could also be a cover-up for either incompetency or even something else more malicious by the Chinese Communist government. And that's just some of the data suggesting that this theory might be correct. Now, the actions by the Chinese government haven't been helpful at all, especially their latest action with their deletion of online research surrounding this sickness, their hoarding of medical supplies that has been happening already for weeks, and also the medical supplies that they provide to other countries that are just either faulty, contaminated with the sickness itself, and absolutely don't work. And again, a lot of this is happening because the world is dependent on China for a lot of its medicine and medical supplies, since of course it's cheaper to be produced there because of slave labor that was enacted there by David Rockefeller and Henry Kissinger with the opening up of, I could digress into so many different issues right now, but I won't. Let's stay on topic here. But we have to remember here that the Chinese state, even last year, through its government-controlled media organizations, called for a people's war against the United States, as of course there was a trade war between these two countries. There is no love lost between these two countries. There is a Thucydides trap, and there is reason to keep an eye on these relations deteriorating, since of course they raise the possibility of a conflict between the two, which should be avoided at all costs. But we have to navigate these waters and still hold China accountable, since, of course, the Chinese government is making this situation that much worse, deleting information, deleting data, not sharing it with the world, but most likely hiding it from everyone else. And again, there's a lot of questions that need to be raised here, especially with how allegedly China defeated this sickness, how they were able to somehow prevent the spread of it, even though 5 million people left Wuhan, and that was the only city and the province that it's in that was somehow affected. Every other major city in China was somehow not affected at all. And again, a lot of the data, a lot of the information coming from China should be met with scrutiny, just like also the same should be done for the U.S. government. And it's really the failure, or some would say even deliberate actions by these two states that put us in this situation that we're in right now. And again, as I've been saying for a very long time, and now other people are saying it after looking at the data, a lot of this could have been prevented. What's going to happen next? No one really knows. I'd rather be safer than sorry. We've been able to help a lot of our viewers get prepared, help them get food supply all the way back in early February. I'm now telling people to grow a garden because, again, after looking at this very closely, keeping an eye on it since early January, the one constant, the one truth here is that you can only rely on yourself and no one else. Also, growing a garden is really fun. There's some data suggesting that it actually has a good effect on your gut biome and mental health. It's actually going to save you money in the long run. You could do it in many ways. You could window farm. You could farm on public land. And it's actually one of the most radical things that you could do, provide for yourself. Radical self-reliance is something I've been promoting and will keep promoting since it's the only safeguard between you and the state. That's my take on it. If you think I'm wrong, let me know why in the comment section below. And of course, love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.